Okay. We used to say window on the wall, all right? So, Dr. George, how you doing today, boss?
Doing fine, thank you.
All right, folks, we say welcome to Liberia Shall Rise. That's the name of the platform. I am one of the hosts here. My name is Augustin Sharif. I'm here with the good doctor, Dr. Emmanuel George. And today we are going to be speaking about another privilege that our country actually has. This is the first Sunday of July, and we just celebrated the 4th of July. It's still the 4th of July weekend. I know Dr. George, he's not working for another 5 days because in America, these guys can make their holiday, they can't make it lazy. So those are us who are little people. We're going back to work tomorrow. The rest of the crew that will join us on Tuesday. Dr. George, how was your fourth?
I was good. Good. It was a
Big.
good weekend. Good
Okay.
week.
It's still ongoing. So, but today though, we are going to be talking about, President Boakai invitation to the Africa U.S. Summit. Some other things will jump in there. So today I'm just taking this conversation to be like table talk. We'll have other things jump in there very very soon before you know it. And so we are still waiting for our friends from Freedom FM to join us. They will be carrying the broadcast live on Freedom FM 87.9. And those of you joining us on YouTube and Facebook, we say welcome and welcome and welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for sharing the broadcast. Thank you for allowing us in your home. And so today, whatever we discuss here, hopefully it's going to be lifting Liberia in an upward trajectory. Dr. George, let's just have a small talk here while we're waiting for the guys to kind of settle in. Um, I want to just go back though. There have been a lot of different events taking place in Liberia this week. I know I said this week. I'm talking about last week actually, because this is the beginning of a new week. But the flooding issue in the country, I don't want to gloss over that because I know we'll be talking about something very important. But the flooding
Yeah.
issue, I think that's something we have to be discussing here seriously. You know, uh, we got to talk about that. I mean, major problem is coming from zoning issues. People are just building structures anywhere, and that is actually water have nowhere to go, so it's just rising. And before you know it, it got to find somewhere to go. And so, flooding issue was one of the big things that I took from last week story. What was your takeaway from last week before we really go into our topic today?
Um, in Liberia.
Yeah, Liberia. Let's stay home.
Okay. Uh, um. Well, we had the funeral services of the reburial of the late Samuel K. Doe, but Prince Johnson had a recording that he threw the man body in the ocean. I don't know. So the men need to have to tell who are buried. Then the reburial of Tolbert. So those were interesting development in the country. And then yesterday, the president had the National Reconciliation and Unity Day. It was on the 5th. That was also good. I mean, we've been talking about a reconciliation yet since the war ended 2005. We're still talking about it. So
Hmm.
I hope this time now we had the one reconciliation and then we'll go forward. But almost every year since the war, it have been reconciliation, 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 reconciliation. Every government that come, they have it as part of the agenda that we should reconcile. Well, they can come with reconciliation. We're still struggling in the country. We can't get job to do. So hopefully after the president reconciliation speech yesterday, then they'll find job for us to, because the easier way to reconcile is to find work for us to do.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
if find work for us to do, we can't put food on the table, we start crying again.
You know, Dr. George, I mean, that's your takeaway from the week. So I'm not even going to add 2 cents to it, because I wanted to say something about that, but that's a story for another day. We're definitely going to discuss it.
Yeah, many of you are not reconciled. You got to sit and reconcile with him.
But Dr. George's whole reconciliation thing, I got no problem with it. I got no problem with it, though. But my whole thing is, but this whole thing is, hmm, the reburial, the reburial, the reburial. I go back and
Yeah,
I
because
go back and I
maybe
start looking at the budget. I start looking at the resources that are being allocated to those things. And then when you talk about the joblessness, and it's it. I mean, I don't have problem with Tober where he's buried, where he was. I don't have problem for us to give a recognition to. But again, you say you want to bring about reconciliation. You want to bring about reconciliation. Are you going to alienate the people of up north? I don't want to say the name of the county, but are you going to alienate the people up north? Did you reach out to the people up north and tell them, say, look, this is what we want to do for the late president? This is what we want to do for the late president. And so if you want to do this for the late president, are you reconciling those two counties? Are the people from up north, are they fully reconciled with this group? Or does it just look good? So let's do it. Anyway, that's not our topic for discussion today. But
That was for that one they had a program yesterday and for other kind of say, okay, if we finish burying President Doe, we not bury President Tobert. So that's reconciled. But again, Prince Johnson had a table, he opened it, say that in the throw President Doe just in the seat. So who are in the casket, I don't know. But
I mean, this is just symbolism. I know you be sarcastic. That's symbolism. You know that.
the casket fine. But you see, when you get to Germany, there's a city called Nuremberg where they had a court case. And my challenge with all this reconciliation, reconciliation is the fact that what do we do about the crime that were committed by the individuals? Do we blind our eyes from the crime they committed? Do we blind our eyes from the fact that the Tobert family was nepotistic? It was the entire government was some kind of Tobert. Do we so what are we I mean, do we blind our eyes? I mean, he was a good person individually, but he ran a nepotistic government. Professor Amadou Sese have penned that very well in his book, One Size Does Not Fit All. So he has a whole chain of Tobert family members that ran our government. Then how about the people who were killed from since the coup, 1985 situation, the Nima massacre, all that one. We just wake up one morning and say that President Doe was a sin. So where is justice in the reconciliation process? That's why I think about Nuremberg. If you go to Nuremberg, where the Germans had a court, most of those were held responsible. They were held responsible for the crime they committed. Nobody were having. It's only recently that some folks here in the United States started to celebrate Nazism. But the Germans were ashamed of what happened during that time. So that's where I have my struggle. Maybe some of you who are smart can explain that to me. But do we just leave all the criminal activities that was done, all the killings that that the people in the massacre in Nima County, the killings the secret killings in Monrovia, the haunting and the killing of Charles Bayon. That for many years, the political opposition and are ruling Liberia. The Charles Bayon was the symbol of the fight, and So what do we do that now? Do we have conversation with Charles Bayon family about now coming to reconcile someone who killed him in broad daylight? So that's my struggle understanding the whole reconciliation we have it, because we seem to be celebrating people who once we write the history of Liberia very well, those people were criminals. They did untold atrocities. They killed people, killed a lot of people in the country. They ordered the murder of people. So it's not to say that they were participating in some kind of war and the fighting was going on. Before the Civil War, they were killing people. When the Civil War was going on, they were still killing people in the country. And then we turn around and start having this big celebration. I mean, I know the family, Hitler family still love him as Hitler. So no matter how negative your parent is, you still love your parents. And I agree, the family could celebrate that secretly. But we should not be investing national money for our national covers to satisfy a burial of someone who we know was a mass killer in our country. No, Samuel Doe was never a sin. He was never a sin. Anybody want to make him sin, that's a problem. But he was never a sin. you know, he killed a lot of people in that country. Flash Hamilton, them who were chewing chicle from the fourth floor, and they killed him like that. And no, you mean to tell me that we all woke up one morning and forgot all those stories? From Flash Hamilton to Charles Bayon to the Nima massacre, all those issues. We woke up one morning and want to think that it did not happen. So, and that is not our show today, but that's
Yeah,
to celebrate.
but no,
You
this is
know.
great. This is great. I think basically we're just talking about, really what's on our minds and this the week that was in Liberia, which was last weekend. So we just want to kind of talk about that. For me, again, if you just joining us on Freedom FM 87.9, we say thank you for joining us. And for me, it was just the flooding issue and the lack of job. The Ministry of Labor decided they were going to do something. They put this thing out there that young people can go to the Ministry of Labor and fill up some form, and they will pick thousand from among the young people to give them summer job or whatever with the potential of getting. I mean, when you look at the list, you look at the video that I received, there were thousands and thousands of people, young people over there, hundreds and hundreds of young people over there. They were just over there. How many of those? Let's be real, man. It's all about who know you in the country.
And the
You
Ministry of Labor start by giving all the job listing for last month. How many people are employed in the country?
exactly.
How many
There's
people are
just
employed
so much we can talk about today.
then
You
we
know,
know the serious. You don't come and be what you call people. The rate of unemployment in the country almost 90%. Then you say you want 1,000 people. Why don't you just play lotto? You could do it by lotto. People could play lotto and then you get 1,000 for the lotto. But yeah,
Dr.
it's
George, Dr.
funny.
George,
The
let's
same
assume, man. Let's assume if they even have the position. Let's assume if they even have that opening to give to 1,000 people, they have already decided. They have already made up their mind. They know who is going to get what. They just put it out there as an open call just to make sure that hey, we left it for everybody. But people within that ministry, their family, their children, and other people, they are the ones getting that opening. If in fact there is an opening, so all of
that's
that
where
is just a
that's where the non-profit group then that raising money should go and investigate. After they employ the
yeah.
1,000 people, they should go back and see if those people are related to anybody in the Ministry of Labor and flag them up. But you're talking about the flooding issue in that country. I know every year there will be flooding in Liberia. Anytime it rain, there will be flooding because we decided to build in the Monrovia is swampy, and we decided to build in a swamp without having outlet for the water. And water will always find level, and that's let me just say as a point of warning, not to say stop you from building your house, but we have experiences from Thailand, from Nigeria, from other parts of the world. One day there will
Indonesia.
be rain, one
Yeah.
will be heavy rain, and when water cannot find a way, nothing can stop it. All those black houses you build, they don't stop water. If you don't have drainage for water to pass through, they don't stop it. And then some of you, when we build, we also fence the yard too. So even in our yard, there's no drainage system for the water to pass. Monrovia is a swampy community. It's a majority of Monrovia is swampy. We have a very good uh, 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 mangrove swamp, mangrove maison farm that farm in the country. And, and those swamplands, the protection of the swamp, the mangrove that was naturally created by the Almighty and given to us to protect our land towards it. We gradually destroying it. So, and we're
Yeah.
not building any drainage system. So, and every year there will be flooding in Monrovia. We get serious to build drainage on building our houses.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us introduce our segment today. Today, I mean, we just let out what is on our mind before we ready to go into the segment. We are about 45 minutes before our show ends, so we'll be in exactly an hour. But here is what we are going to be discussing today. After seeing everything that's on our mind, we try to be very balanced. We try to not just say good things, even though the name of our show is Liberia Shall Rise. That's the name of the platform. We believe that Liberia do arise, but we have to speak of some of the ills and some of the negatives we have in order to be able to move forward. Today, we are going to be talking about the privilege that President Boakai has to come to the United States for the U.S. Africa Summit. And, this is a summit that takes place, every year or once in a while. You have African heads of states are invited. It's an exclusive community. It's a very, very opportune place for heads of states to actually go and showcase their country, boast about your country, boast about these things that you're doing. But Dr. George, where I want to start though, the same administration, maybe 3 weeks ago, they temporarily placed us on this list, potential ban list, that if certain things are not corrected in our country, we might be banned, our citizen might be banned from coming to the US. And they put us on our list. 3 weeks later, they say, hey, we're inviting you. What is the psychology here? What is going on here? I mean, what is happening with this administration? Is this invitation something? It's a legit, legit, of course, because they're coming, but are they playing this mind game with us? Are they serious about us? When I say us, I'm talking Liberia.
Well, in politics, and it also moved into international politics. In fact, I think it was in the 1800s when a German or a British diplomat says that there is no permanent friend, there's no permanent friend, there is permanent interest in international politics. So 3 weeks ago, yes, the United States of America put us on the yellow list, as they called it, banning us. And I agree, as a citizen of Liberia who travel with Liberian passport, I agree with it. You can have your passport in everybody's hands. Now, can be setting our passport all around the place. But hopefully, somebody got to come from outside to tell us something we know about. But again, we should give credit to where credit belongs. Since Madam Besto took over the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it was one of the things that she made her first point of fight, to make sure that diplomatic passport were in the right hands and to make sure that Liberian passport was in the right hands. Hopefully, the government is on top of that. We're giving a few weeks to make things work. I think 6 months to make it possible or something like that. And I believe there is progress. I believe the Liberian government has been able to make a case to the United States government to say, yes, we did not. We inherited the situation. We inherited the history of it. During Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration, there was history. But then President Boakai was the past president of the administration, so he knows the history during his administration. There was the history in the George Weah administration. There was a Liberian that was arrested, I think in Philadelphia or thereabout, carrying a diplomatic passport. He was a well-seasoned criminal. The same thing is true of arrest that took place in Mexico of another drug person. So those things that raise flag, and every Liberian, every one of us that travel with a Liberian passport, we should be concerned, because it reduces the level of respectability you have when you travel into a foreign country. It increases the eyes on you. We already have a lot of eyes on us when we go for our visa interview. Uh, then that eyes will travel with us when we come to the American border. They have done. We are scrutinized several times at the American embassy. It takes months for us to get visa appointment. After months of you getting a visa appointment, you receive the visa appointment, you travel to the USA, you have to spend extra time in line because they have to scrutinize your pass because you're carrying a Liberian passport. That is it. That we should not, as citizens of that beautiful country, be subjected to such a situation. But again, I believe there have been improvement because Madame Besto made it a major part of her leadership at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I'm sure she and her team has been able. I believe. I mean, not be sure, but I believe she and her team has been able to put forward the necessary documentation in conversation with the U.S. State Department.
Okay,
But
with that
again,
said, let's go to the invitation. The second part of the question. I mean, is this just this psychological mind game? If you don't do this, when your pa come, I will tell your pa will beat you, kind of thing, and then you straighten up. I mean, right after they put us on a yellow list, 3 weeks later, we got invitation to come to this exclusive meeting. Is it some kind of mind game, or is it just someone trying to straighten us?
no, as you take time to study U.S. foreign policy, I think that's the direction the Trump administration seems to be going through. So we are not the first in it. The Trump administration seems to be going through old diplomacy of looking at the diplomacy we have in the 1860s, right? Looking for raw materials and resources. So even with the situation in Ukraine, the deals that the Trump administration foreign policy trusts with Ukraine before giving them extra arms and ammunition was then to sign mineral deals with the United States of America. Uh, the same thing with the European Union. So there's there's a lot of mineral deals that around the world, even when President Trump went to Saudi Arabia. So most, if you follow the foreign policy thrust of the Trump administration, you find out that most of the issue is centered around gathering of raw materials, like in the 1860s when Europe were going out into the rest of the world to get raw material. So again, it's part of the America First agenda. Everything should be made in America. So therefore, if you want things to be made in America, you have to go out and seek raw materials in countries that have raw materials that are of the interest to America. So that's the thing about it. So I'm not worried about the American side of this conversation at all.
Yeah, and
And
I think that's why I don't want us to spend too much on
yeah,
that side. I want to really focus on what it means for Liberia. That's what I want to focus on.
yeah, any good nation, any major nation, any very serious nation will look out for what interests them. That's what foreign policy is all about. It's about my interest, what is good to me. So inviting President Boakai and the other four African leaders to the White House, it's not based on the fact that President Boakai is a very handsome man or he's beautiful or something. It's based on the fact that, in fact, the White House call it commercial opportunities. These five countries offers the United States of America commercial opportunities. So the Americans have seen that. So what have we seen as the president is staying prepared to come to the United States of America? What have he what do we have to put to offer? And that's why international relations is all about. What do we have to offer? Are we going to come as a beggar nation, begging for pieces on the table, or are we going to come as a respectable sovereign nation that understands that we have these mineral resources that the United States needs, and understand that we have to get into some form of partnership that we, the citizens of Liberia, will benefit from this partnership.
Dr. George, let me say, because this conversation is going to flow. Well, let me say this. As we talk history here, we can never forget, right? You know, we should always remember, even 9/11 took place in this country. Every year when we commemorate it, we always say we will never forget. Maybe we forgive what happened, but we never forget. Today, though, from a blunder that we did, opportunities that we squander, to use some beautiful words there that our people are still struggling. Not just the people, I'm talking about the entire country is still struggling. We gave out too much when it came to Firestone. We gave too much for too little. And restructuring that deal have never been the case to actually help us. Firestone have made that money, continue to make money. Our people are still struggling. We have given out too much, whether it's raw material, whether it's natural resources, lamb cooking, they did their own. Everybody now, China is taking their own. We have given out too much, too much. And so here is again another opportunity. We coming to the table. We coming to the table. Who is our strategic person who is going to be representing Liberia? Look, I can care less if President Boakai comes to the table. President Boakai is not, I don't see him to be this great negotiator who's going to come and speak and say, look, this is what we want. Who is that go-to person we have on the delegation in Liberia who's going to be our spokesperson, who have sat down and done some due diligence, done some numbers, calculation, and said, look, this is what we are going for. Have all of that been discussed? Or do you just come to Washington, D.C., and when you enter that fancy hall, you get intimidated, you forget that you are here for business?
Well, in international relations, we call this meeting of the president the summit meeting. There were when president meets is at the summit meeting, but before every summit meeting, there's a meetings under the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
They're where you send your critical mind. So by this time, because the president is due here on
That's
the 9th,
exactly what I'm saying.
by this time you expect that the minister of finance will be in country. You expect that the minister of foreign affairs will already be in the United States of America, and you expect that conversations have already started. Now, even before they left Liberia, the conversation should start by you understanding, okay, what is it that Liberia has to offer the United States of America? What is it that the US want from us? And in the meantime, we start to look at ourselves and say, and ask ourselves, what is it we want from this agreement, from this partnership? I mean, is it partnership? Or do we come with back arms? And that's how most of our diplomacy have been over the years. We always go to the table with begging arms. And we need you to do this. And our people Our people in Liberia, it's the same thing. Low forward to the president coming, the president say, "Oh, the American gave us $25 million. How much is $25 million? That money can be spent by a country in less than a week." But you want to come, you want the president, you want to go on that table looking for opportunities of your people,
That's
looking
right.
for the creation of jobs, looking for this company coming in Liberia or whatsoever American interest. You want to increase American interest in Liberia. When I was much younger and did some kind of thing in 2005 there about, there was so much opportunity to increase American interest in Liberia. Perhaps we took advantage. Perhaps we did not take advantage. For example, in 2005 and thereabout, after all these terrorism around the world, the U.S. wanted to establish a base in Africa. And from all studies and all indications, like the only country in Africa where Liberians, when we say America, all of us are majority of us, at least 90% of us, we are very patriotic to the American flag before the Liberian flag. That is bound friendship. That is to say that if the American establish a base in Liberia, Liberia will be extremely grateful and they will be treated like kings. Did we work towards that? I don't. AFRICOM was not established in Liberia. I felt we as a country should have worked to the nails to get AFRICOM established because of our relationship first with the United States of America and how Liberians perceive and receive Americans and American interests. But we did not win that. That would have brought millions of dollars into the country. It would have brought employment for our people. But we're not successful. I think AFRICOM went to Niger or somewhere on the continent is they situated, or Ghana or somewhere else took AFRICOM, or they don't have a base yet. But the Americans were looking for a base in Africa at that time. And we had very friendly government. President Ellen Johnson said it was highly respected and loved by the federal presidents of America during her time. So by this time, we should have our people studying this document saying, "Oh, what is it that what is the interest?" President Trump have already said we're looking for commercial opportunities. Okay, what are these commercial opportunities that they are looking for? And what can we also ask of the US government? Because there are several things we need, but perhaps, for my opinion, it's an increase in American investment in our country. So if we need American investment, increasing it, how we identify those agreements. I mean, we have smart people at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I have respect for the people who work in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But those who are traveled now, who are in country now having this conversation, are they putting the Liberian interest on the table? And as they have that conversation with the Liberian interest, the legislature will also have to start writing an agreement that will be ratified after. Another group would be at the legislature, talking to the legislature to develop an agreement that will be ratified later. So
Okay.
I hope we bring something to the table and don't come as beggars.
Okay, awesome. And and just for those who are fact checking us, from the latest fact that I just checked on, I think AFRICOM did not make it to Africa because so basically I think they end up building this place in Germany. So something that should benefit Africa, but then they have it in Stuttgart, Germany, where they have it's the command center, that's the headquarters. And so if you are double checking us, please look at that fact as well. Maybe there are sub-regions in different parts of Africa, but I think it ended up going to Germany at that time because we lost it, like Dr. George said. But Dr. George, I don't want us to lose sight of the strategic position, right? I really like the point that you made earlier when you said the United States is thinking about United States first. That's the agenda. That has always been, whether it's the US, whether it's Europe, that has always been. They first, we pick up the crumbs. And so I say this to kind of look at it. This meeting is very strategic, right? Because now when you look across Africa, China is really getting a stronghold. Other parts of Africa, you see Russia also getting a stronghold. And now it just seems as though the US, especially after they got rid of lots of the aid program, it just seemed as though they started going down on the continent. Even before that, their morale was going down. If you want to use our beautiful word we use in Liberia, the morale is going down. And so now when you look at this region, the 5 heads of states that are actually invited, when you look at that region, it is dominated by the West, by West Africa, right? Because I think you have Mauritania, which is the Northwest, is up there, Mauritania. And then you have Liberia, and you have Guinea-Bissau, I believe. Guinea-Bissau is there. And then you have Gabon.
Yeah, Gabon.
You have Gabon. So it's dominated by the West, right? When you look at all of this, now they're saying, okay, well, Niger, we know we got to be careful because Russia is over there. So they are inviting these people. Now, is the US strategic? Look, I mean, everything is strategy for them. I don't even want to ask the question if they are being strategic, but they are looking at regions that have not been overtaken yet and say, look, let's make this our stronghold. Do you think, I don't want you to assume, but I still want you to assume, do you think this is part of the strategy that we don't want to lose West Africa? Let's keep West Africa. We still have a stronghold in this particular region. Is this part of the discussion?
Yeah, it will be part of the conversation because, first of all, the countries that have been earmarked, where you Senegal, Gabon, Mauritania, Guinea-Bissau. I don't know much about Mauritania, Guinea-Bissau, and Liberia. We have there are mineral reserve, commercial mineral reserve that is attractive to the U.S. That takes Senegal, for example, the African Power Rail project that President Obama set aside billions of dollars for also start from there. So there is a strategic interest of power in West Africa that the Obama administration started with Senegal. But Senegal is also the hub of international organizations in Africa, in especially in West Africa, Kenya, then Senegal. That's the hub. So you have a lot of Western interest in Senegal. So it plays an important role. Gabon is good with has mineral. Uh, so there's a commercial viability with this thing. Now, I for me, and that's my personal opinion, on any day I would take European American investment in Africa because it has the American and European investment in Africa had trickle down effect as compared to China. You can look at it in like take Liberia, take any Chinese company in Liberia. How many Liberians are employed in those companies? They bring a lot of Chinese people. Uh, when Chinese people come in your country, when the Chinese come, they're not renting those $1,500 a month houses. They join us. Everyone of they join us to drink pure water from the sachet. They join us to mend their slippers. They join us to. Most of them live in tents in how they call it these homes um
Mhm.
how you call it homes here in these
The
these
mobile homes, and yeah.
living so they are not investing. The Chinese don't invest much in your economy when they are there, and besides they trickle the little sum they send. But if you have investment of Americans, then how they call it, the Americans want to drive big cars, so they have to pay for gas. They want to live in exclusive area, Mama Point area. So those houses in Mama Point that have lost investment due to the due to ECOMOG leaving Liberia, or the forces, the peace forces leaving Liberia. All those places will be open up to investment. And those families will start getting money again. So I, for one, I'm always interested in American investment because it has a lot of trickle down effect. American, and you can take again look at bomb mines before the war and bomb
Mhm.
mines now. And there was what was happening in the mining company with the Germans. It was affecting the time around bomb mines. Investment or funding were going to those areas. So yeah, so the Chinese are making inroad, and is something. And again, Chinese inroad is because our Chinese don't care about human rights record, even though currently we are not too sure how much human rights record the current administration cares about. But the Chinese don't care about human rights record. They want to extract what they can extract from you, and they don't care how you run your country. They don't question your leadership ability. But the Europeans and Americans bring questions on how their democratic situation. So to come answering your question and pulling it down is the fact that yes, these five countries, most of them in West Africa, they have mineral petroleum resources. And a few years ago, when we did the research, you found out that petroleum from West Africa is far shorter to reach to the United States of America. That's the reason why American companies were very interested when we sorry, when we had sighting of oil in Liberia, because it's one of the shortest way to take oil from Africa straight to or anywhere around the world straight into the US. It's a shorter route, and that also who increase investment.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. George. And apart from just the regional thing, another thing again that they're going to be looking at also is going to be security, right? They're going to be looking at the security. I'm sure security is going to be highlighted on the agenda. They are going to be looking at regional security, and Liberia was just designated to be on the United Nations Security Council, even though it's non-permanent, but again, it is something. And with that bestowed upon Liberia is going to be a major player in the regional security. So whether it's West Africa and it's branching into other parts of Africa, Liberia is going to be. And so when I saw this invitation, honestly, Dr. George, I took it as, you know what? We have bestowed this upon you, and now we actually expect you to live up to the expectation. Now, just as they do here in the US, if they pass in budget, right? We just signed a big, beautiful bill, right? If they sign a budget, they put a lot of things in there, a lot of things. The president will say, no, I want that one to go in. If you don't put it in, I can't sign it. They will put everything. Sometimes you get confused and you just like, you know what, let's just approve it. And so that's exactly how I'm looking at this exclusive meeting. There are a lot of different things underneath that may not come to the surface. We might be focused on mineral resources. We might be focused on security, but there are a lot of different things, in my opinion. I do believe that if we are not strong at that discussion table, we will come up and be showing our hands that we brought $40 million back when they are actually taking 200 million from us. And so that is, I mean, those are some of the things I'm thinking. So let's just look at the regional security aspect of that. Is said that the US now is going to come and say, look, let's go back to the table. Let us come and train your forces. Let us come and take care of your people. Let us build up your Coast Guard, and let us take care of those kind of things. Is that what you expect to come from the regional security part of this meeting?
No, I don't expect that. I will be pleasantly surprised if President Boakai come back with America saying that we're going to invest because even places where U.S. have greater investment, like Ukraine, for example, on greater interest in Liberia, like Ukraine, for example, the U.S. have said that we need to stockpile arms in our own country, so we're not going to be giving you arms like we were giving before. So the current administration in Washington, I don't believe they are interested in security outside of the United States of America. Their interest in security is strengthening the U.S. military and making everybody else afraid of the American military. If we take, for example, the bombing of the nuclear facility in Iran, for example, uh, 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 those 120 planes flew from the American soil and returned to the American soil. America have forces in Qatar, they have forces in Germany, they have forces in other parts of the world. They did not activate those forces because America wants to show that we from the motherland, we from our natural land, we can secure ourselves and launch attack anywhere we want to attack in this world. That was a statement they were making. So with that statement, I don't believe that the current government in the U.S. is going to invest a lot of money in maintaining Liberian security. Liberia will have to take that responsibility of maintaining its own security. But yes, they are going to increase their confidence. Again, as I said initially, the current administration in the U.S. have shown that they are interested, like in the 1860s, interested in getting raw materials from countries that have raw materials. So they are going to go into partnership, or even if it's not partnership, they are going to lure you or strongly coerce you into that, like they did in Ukraine. They strongly coerce Ukraine into what the 300 million until stand to be corrected, mineral deals, rare mineral deals. They pull Ukraine into that as part of the security guarantee of American weapons, for which even Ukraine is not getting as much as they were getting before. So I don't want to believe that there will be a massive shift towards security. But
No, go ahead, make your point, finish your point.
but it's extremely important that the Liberian government realize as they go in this meeting what is of interest to Liberia. So if Liberia interest is security, they can put it on the table. that our interest is security right now, and can you guarantee us the opportunity of security?
All right, so Dr. George, we'll come back and there's an interesting question here from one of our viewers. We'll address that later.
Mhm.
But I want us to just gonna go back. I want to stay on what you just discussed, the security aspect of what we are talking about. I think I would agree. I would agree partly with what you say. And the only reason we agree on this one is because look, yes, the US is trying to really flex its muscle and to show that we are the only superpower in the world and will continue to be that superpower. And another reason why we agree with your assessment is this. We just recently had a NATO summit, right, in The Hague. The NATO summit, as it was going on, when before the president got there, there were journalists interviewing this president. Asked the president, say, "Mr. President, do you agree to the clause? Do you agree with the clause in that particular summit? I mean, agreement that says if you attack one nation, you attack all of us." Your president, your president say, "I mean, there's a lot of different meaning to that particular clause. I can tell you yes or no." And so, so, and so your president, as long as it's for US, he will actually focus on the security of this country, right? It's always going to be the US first. He could not even say yes. When you attack one NATO member, you attack all of us. He did not even say that. He did not agree to that. And the second thing he did, he gets to the summit and he said, "Look, I know I push you guys to increase your budget to 2%. Now you got to go to 5%. You don't do it when something happens, we're not coming." So, so Spain is the only country. Spain is the only country. Spain said we're not doing it. Right? We're not going to do it. And so when when the journalists asked him, "How do you feel when Spain said they're not going to increase?" He said they will pay for it another way. Look at his remark. And so it's all about the security here. Something happened over there, we're not coming to you. And so I'm just saying this. So for those two reasons, I think I tend to agree with your assessment that they are not coming to say, "Look, let's beef up your security infrastructure. Let's do this and this and this." But this has always been a strategy of the US, though, to make sure that that region is safe. I mean, they used our region during World War II, right? They used that region. That place has always been a landing place and takeoff place. And to say that they are not going to build up the, I think there's something inside of me that says they might be able to at least do something security wise. They may not come and rebuild our entire infrastructure, but maybe bring additional training. I can see that to be the case. Whether it's the police force or whether it's the military, I can see additional training coming to be part of that package. Or at least I expect our negotiators to talk about that. And so, Dr. George, another thing I want to talk about though, if I am negotiating, if I'm sitting at the negotiation table, Dr. George, one of the things I'm looking for, and this is super important to me, we'll come to my friend question here. But one of the things I'm looking for, if I'm your negotiator, your lead negotiator, or even your assistant negotiator, one of the questions I'm not going to let slide is this whole idea of Mr. Trump, you know the history between our two nations, number one. And secondly, I understand as president of Liberia, I understand the economic benefit that Mr. George and every diaspora Liberians contribute to that country. That's going to be on the table. Leave my people alone. Leave my people alone. I understand the ones that overstay, the ones that commit crime in this country. Yes, let justice prevail. But the ones that are here minding that business on that green card, and now you're causing them stress by saying green card holders, they are not secure, even though it didn't come from the president of. But we know that green card holders are not secure. They are afraid to travel. They are afraid to do certain things. They are afraid to bring family member. That has to be on the table, Dr. George. I'm not leaving that off the table. It has to be on the table. What do you think?
Well, it depends on how you put it on the table. If something is a conversation must be held. We hopefully at the summit level,
Mhm.
and at the other level, those who are speaking will bring it out in our conversation. But again, on those tables is what you bring to the table. It's just like your family. If you always come begging, nobody respect you. Anything you say is not respectable because everybody in your family knows that you are a beggar. But if you come all the time with something that benefits you and benefit the next person, you receive respectability on the table and people listening to you when you speak. So, those who are negotiating, what is the level? What level of intelligence they have in diplomacy? It's extremely important. Those who are negotiating, how are they going to relate this? Yes, I mean it's good to have that on the table, but remember too. Let me remind you that there's a policy that is being noted. I don't know whether it's in this new law that they are going to be increased on taxes on remittances to to foreign country from the U.S. You know, so in as much as you want to make remittances a conversation, you also bear in mind that the current administration is thinking of increasing taxes on remittances. That's one. Two,
Absolutely.
there's
Absolutely.
also,
That got to be on the table. That got to be on the table. You know,
there's an increase. There's also an increase in the security of remittance also. So when you are now going to Walmart or whatsoever you send your remittances, you have to go with your real ID or
hmm
an ID that can prove that you are legally in the United States of America.
that's right.
So that limits that conversation. But yeah, it's something that is good to bring to the table to share about the fear within the community. As you lay down, as you put the carrot, as you put down the beauty of this conversation, what Liberia can offer in mineral resources to the United States of America, we can also share that in as much as we're offering this, we also struggle with insecurity with deportation because we are not security ready to prepare our people. So can you give us another 5 years if you are taking this serious? And then we can go through this mining deals. Once we have commercial opportunities and it's open, we will be willing to receive any one of our citizens back to our country. But in the meantime, we need a 5 years or 5 years break period in order for this deal to go through and this thing to be operational. I'm not saying that how they're going to carry the conversation, but that how
Sure, sure,
this
sure.
conversation should be. Offer something, show that you have something on the table. Again, none of us should ever go to a negotiation bargaining table with a beggars mentality, because that's how many of us Liberians, even those listening to us on Freedom FM, that all we think when once our president get in the plane, we're thinking, oh, what he bringing back to the country, and the president travel, him bring nothing back. No, we cannot continuously have this backup mentality and want to be a successful country. As a successful nation, we should always sit down and strategically look at what we have to offer, what we bring on the table. And what we bring on the table should always be part of our negotiation, because people who do that are respected, and nations who do that are respectable nations.
Oh, Dr. George, I like the way you put it. It depends how you put it on the table and who's at the table. And so basically, though, you have again, I don't know much about our foreign policy. When I say our, I'm talking about Liberia. I don't know
Mm.
much about Liberia foreign policy. And because I don't know much about it, I struggle to put my mouth in it. But the little I know is this. For every area of diplomacy, you got people who are trained, are good at their craft, and you have these professionals, and these are the people that you actually, Dr. George. Hey man, I hate making talk seriously, but I know someone who is trying to get a diplomatic position in the country, and that person cannot even be my high school teacher. You know, and so basically, if we start putting people in position, right, simply because they help us, quote unquote, help us to get to the presidency, or they help us to get to certain position, and we start taking these people and putting them in these serious positions. I'm saying this is a very serious and strategic position. This person is going out, and I'm not speaking. Miss Bessler, she have done well since she came in. We all struggled before she came in. We just like, well, can she do it? But she's done well. She's proven herself. But other people that we are sending in other parts of the country to do this particular work, other parts of the world to do this particular work, to be the face of that, because as ambassador or as that spokesperson for the country, you're representing a whole nation. It's not just about your job. You're representing a whole nation. So the people coming to these negotiation table, I would have loved to know some of these individuals and know who are going to be at the table. I know our foreign minister is going to be there for sure, but others that are going to be part of that bargaining, they have to come with serious issue. Don't just give, but you have to come with the intent of securing something for the Liberian people to benefit the nation as a whole, not just a select few. That's just my take on that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, your foreign policy is a reflection of the of not only the nation but also the people who you hire in those roles. But the role of an ambassador, most ambassadors that are selected, is not based on qualification in many parts of the world, including the United States of America. They are ambassador. I ambassador to importing stations. I Importing stations, and for Liberia, importing station will be the United States of America. Importing station will be Europe. Those kind of ambassadors are people who have the trust of Mr. President. And most countries we prefer to have those people who have the trust of Mr. President to know that when we sit on the table and have a conversation, you can get the ears of your president. So you may be a career diplomat, but you don't have the ears of the president. And you may be assigned to the United States of America. But because you don't have the interest of the ears of the president, you are not taken seriously. Because diplomacy is a fast thing, and everyone wants to make sure that this person I'm speaking to, this person has the ears of the president they represent, and that's why bring respectability. So often at times, ambassador is not they are not selected because of, especially key stations. They are not selected because of the qualification. They are selected based on the trust that Mr. President have in that person, and then the receiving nation. In a serious nation, the receiving nation look at how much trust the president. Let's take an example: the U.S. ambassador to Israel. I don't think he was elected because of his qualification. He was elected because of his relationship with Israel and because the trust that Mr. President has in him. That was the reason of his election. And that's why the Israelis were able to welcome him, because this person has spent many years backing Israeli interests, and this person have the ears. Remember, when you are selected as ambassador, the home country has to accept you too. When your nation send you, your home country have to accept you. The point in case was George Weah, one of George Weah appointed as ambassador to the United States of America. She was refused because she was an American citizen. So the Americans said, we cannot accept you, and George Weah had to, I think, send her to France or something. So those is very important. I know we scratch our head based on qualification, but selection of an ambassador is not based on how much qualification you have. It's mostly based on you have the trust and you have the ears of the president you represent. But flip it, you want the qualification. You want them to be qualified. And that's the reason why you have people like the deputy, I don't know, Liberian ambassador structure. I'll be comparing it to another country. You have the consular officer. You have the deputy ambassadors. Those people are career people. They are the one who should be there to advise the ambassador to how they call it, to run the embassy. But for example, the current ambassador, not to say he not qualified, he's a good friend to the president. Ambassador Conte is President Boakai very good friend. So anywhere he go to have a conversation, people know that this man has the ears and the attention of President Boakai. He doesn't have to go through anybody else to talk to the president. He can, Ambassador Conte can pick up his phone and directly talk to President Boakai. And that's what countries want that's the people that countries wants as ambassador.
All right, so let's go to this question here from Gabriel Boema. I know it's just been kind of lingering here. I know when we were talking about, the trickle-down effect, right? We're talking about, I think it was the segment when we talked about remittances coming to the country or the economic benefit that comes to the country. And he had just said, well, name a country in the world where trickle-down economic policy has uplifted the working class. Trickle-down economy only reaches 1% of citizens, and he gave his assessment. Liberia needs an economy built around ordinary people. I would love to have Boima on the show to see how we empower ordinary people. I would love to have Boima. I mean, he sounds like a very smart guy. He knows exactly what he's talking about. But why for me personally, Dr. George, just to take a stab at this particular question, Why I may not be able to name one country and say, hey, this is how it has happened, because we are right here on the spot without doing some legwork. I couldn't say it, but I just got to bring it back home to us. When I say us, I'm talking about the country where you and I reside now. When we talk about trickle down effect, right? Basically, I know the working class, and Boyma, you can definitely weigh in and just add to the conversation. We can add you to the broadcast as well. But when you look at it during the COVID epidemic, one of the things that were actually happening, they were actually giving remittances to citizens, right? And basically, the reason the country was doing that, they were not giving all of this remittance. I think it was $1,200, $2,400 per married couple. They were not giving it to the millionaires and the billionaires, but they were giving it to the everyday people, the lower down people. Because what that did was, as we receive our little $1,200 or $2,400, we now turn around, took that money, and put it right back into the economy. And because we put it right down into the economy, it had that trickle down effect. It had that effect of benefiting not just the everyday people, but the nation as a whole, the economy of the country as a whole. So, Boyman, that's my take on there. I will let Dr. George actually add his 2 cents to it, because I didn't want your question to be hanging without us touching it.
Yeah. And Burma, you are right. There's no nation that has been built based on that. On the one hand, you're right, but on the other hand, if you take the American investment in Germany or in Europe after World War II, you will find out that those massive what this does. If foreign people come in your country and they are working and they are spending money, it also developed the local economy, as you say, as you're thinking about. Let's take for instance, the Germans were in bomb mines. They were running a mining sector. Okay, there were thousands of Liberians working there. Those Liberians went into the community, Handy and other community, to purchase food. So that allowed the businesses in that area to strive. And then the Germans had to travel to the airport. They had to pay taxes while they are traveling, but they also have to buy gas. Many of them had a personal car. Beside, I think bomb mines, you were not supposed to use the company official car after Friday at the end of work for the weekend. So they have to use their personal cars during the weekend. And using their personal car, they were buying gas in the country. Many of them went to the beach in Monrovia. They had to pay for those hotels. But it's not like the way we see the Chinese. The Chinese were not paid to go to any classic beach in Monrovia. The Chinese were not paid. They were all decided to shack together in a mobile home. Maybe 100 of them living together. You even see some of them were selling a sachet water in Monrovia. They were patching slippers in Monrovia. They were doing Shushan ball working in Monrovia. Those are things that if you have European investor in your country, they are not going to do that because it's for the natural citizen. So Liberian citizens started competing now with the Chinese laborers that came into the country. The same is true if you go to the mining town of in Bombing County. So yeah, it may not develop the economy, but it does make sure that there are money circulating within the system, and those money circulating within the system help thousands of families in that country. And as I said, the example of the U.S. rebuilding of Europe, there's even an example after the war in Liberia. I mean, many of the people who work with ECOWAS have money, and they were out in the market purchasing. They were building. If you go to Mamba Point, most of those houses were being rented. You go to Singa, most of the houses were rented. But after ECOWAS left, most of the houses now, if you go up to Mamba Point, some of the houses are even how they call it, beyond, they are all broken down. Their owners have not been able to have the monies they have to invest in renovating those homes. But thank you for your question. It's a very thought-provoking question.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our broadcast for today. But Dr. George, though, before we leave, we'll still do exactly what we usually do, and that is go back and just kind of take 1 minute and just wrap things up. And I'm gonna do my thing, and I'll let you close the show, and that's how we're gonna end the broadcast for today. But friends, listening to us in Liberia on Freedom FM 87.9, or you joining us on YouTube or Facebook, we say, look, it is a very good thing. In the past month, I think Liberia is experiencing a beautiful summer, if you want me to put it that way. In Liberia, I know it's rainy season, but Liberia is enjoying a beautiful summer right now. First, you got invited to the United Nations Non-Permanent Security Council. That's a very good thing to be recognized. And then, you now get this special invitation to come to this exclusive summit. That is a very good thing for the country. And, you have a foreign ministry that is actually doing a very good job, depending who you ask. In my opinion, the foreign ministry have actually worked to strengthen our passport issue. I'd have people in Liberia running to the ID card center and trying to get their real ID, I'm calling the real ID in Liberia. Because when they go to Western Union, or when they go to RIA to get that money that someone sent them, they're no longer accepting passport. So now your ID is critical. It's super important to have. So a lot of people running there to get an ID. That is a good thing for Liberia. And with this particular invitation, it is my hope that Liberia does not come to the table as a feeble nation. Don't make yourself look weak. The fact that you are invited to this particular summit is because there's something you have that they want. They didn't call you, like Dr. George said earlier. I like that point. He didn't invite our president because he's good looking. He didn't invite him because he's eloquent. He didn't invite him because he's the only guy in Africa. No, he invited him because there's something over there that we want for you in Liberia. And so when you come to this summit, please do not come as a feeble nation. Come as a nation that's sovereign, that have something to offer, and in return, you can get something in return to benefit not just select few, but the Liberian people as a whole. Dr. George, that's where we end it, and I will let you take over and end the broadcast for today.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us on Freedom FM in Monrovia, Liberia, 87.9. Want to thank you again for being a part of Liberia Shall Rise. We have been discussing the president's invitation, President Joseph Boakai invitation to this African summit that has been held in Washington, D.C., hosted by President Donald J. Trump from the 9th to the 11th of July. We look forward to the president delegation bringing strategic things to the table. We should start as a country with this beggar mentality, always begging, but we should start using our brains to think, to look at what we offer, and in turn, use what we offer to get what we want. Thank you all for a very wonderful broadcast. On the next week's Sunday, do have a wonderful week. My name is Emmanuel George. Good night.